In chapter 4, verse 2 of Quran, it said that, "Give orphans their wealth, and don't take their wealth by mixing it with yours. Certainly that is a big sin." If you're afraid that you cannot be fair to orphans, then marry the women you like, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you're afraid that you cannot be fair to them, then 1 is enough, or what you already have. That makes it more likely that you avoid injustice. This is one of the most controversial issues in Islam and in the whole world. Polygamy is an issue that has been banned widely by most of the world. In most of Islamic countries, it is surely getting less and less common. It is some ideology that still exists in Islam, but not commonly practiced. For sure, this matter has been one of the strongest propaganda tools against Quran, and it has also been one of the #1 causes of Muslims doubting the legitimacy of their own religion. To be honest, this is a very difficult to digest this concept that men, and only men, are allowed to have up to 4 wives, keeping them under one roof, and having their children to grow up together. Let's talk in detail about polygamy. The story goes back to thousands of years ago, when all nations of the world were in constant conflict with each other. At that time, humans had a very short life expectancy due to illnesses and injuries. A simple sore throat or pneumonia would claim so many lives every year. War-related deaths were another reason on top of all, claiming lots of lives, and mostly men. Due to constant wars, there was always a significant shortage of men. For example, for a small village, barely meeting the ends due to killer illnesses and shortage of food supplies, suddenly losing half of the men population to a war would be a disaster. It was a common scenario that a whole population would become extinct because they were not able to reproduce enough people to replace the dead ones. A population would gradually decline to its extinction. This was when the smart idea of polygamy was invented. One remaining man could provide enough sperm to fertilize several women. It was a social responsibility for men to mate with several women in order to keep them fertile. In 1 or 2 generations, enough number of fertile young men and women would replace the dead ones, and the whole community would flourish again. This time, because there were enough men for women, there wouldn't be any reason for polygamy. This was a brilliant survival mode for humans to avoid extinction, and it was very much accepted by men and requested by women. Polygamy existed almost amongst all the nations of the world. But things were not always this good and clear. With power and uncontrolled sexual desire came powerful, rich, and violent men who forced other women to be their wives, and because it was a well-known tradition, it would be automatically accepted by their community. If you look at the first verse, you will see that at the beginning it is said how to protect orphans and how to be fair and just to them. Then it says, if you think that you cannot be fair to orphans, then you can have multiple wives. There is a big confusion amongst Islamic scholars about the association of the first statement about orphans and a sudden conclusion of marrying multiple women. No one has a clear answer to this question, that why suddenly in the middle of talking about orphans, there is a switch to the idea of polygamy. There are tons of explanations in different books, but none of them satisfactory. Let's look at the whole first 2 verses from the beginning. First it is said that give orphans their wealth, and don't replace goodness with badness by stealing their money, or by mixing it with yours. Certainly that is a big sin. Then it adds that if you are afraid that you cannot handle this task, and if you cannot be fair to orphans, then you are allowed to marry the mother of that orphan, so you will be his or her stepfather. This is when things change, and you cannot be unfair to your own wife or your own child anymore, especially if it comes to more children out of this marriage. At that time, 1400 years ago in Arabia, this was the most civilized way to deal with the biggest problem of the society: men getting killed and leaving their wife and children defenseless, and putting the whole community at risk of extinction. Based on this law, a man could have up to 4 wives, but under one condition. if he was not able to treat his wives equally, he wouldn't be allowed to marry more than one woman. This condition has been widely ignored or misinterpreted by Islamic scholars. They claim that being equal means providing them with equal nights, equal money, and equal living place. Everybody ignores equal love. It is very difficult to provide equal love to your wives. If you marry multiple women for just sexual desire, it is impossible to be attracted to your old first wife as much as to your young one. Based on this condition, no man should be allowed to have more than one wife just for sexual satisfaction. The only way that someone can fulfill this condition is when the marriage is out of social responsibility to help women and children who have lost their man of the house. When you marry a woman out of social responsibility, not sex drive, your heart remains attached to your first wife. Polygamy in Islam was not a special advantage for men. It was a responsibility for them. A responsibility that sometimes was very difficult to achieve, for example, marrying your own brother's wife. It was never meant to be for sexual satisfaction. This law at that time was a survival tool, but in today's condition, it brings nothing but hardship, fight, hate, mistrust, and broken families. At that time, it was a must to encourage people to polygamy, but in today's world, there should be a ban on it, unless under unforeseen circumstances, such as Third World War, it needs to be practiced again. Prophet Muhammad himself had several wives. His first wife, the first love of his life, was several years older than him, and was a blessing to Prophet Muhammad's life. She was the first woman in the world who believed in Prophet Muhammad and converted to Islam. Prophet Muhammad lived with her for 23 years, 13 years before and 10 years during his prophecy. His first wife died of hunger when they were thrown out of their city, Mecca, and they had to live in a desert for 3 years. For a long time after death of his wife, he did not remarry until he was fully involved in leading his followers in Medina and busy with spreading the teachings of Islam. Muhammad's number one criterion to choose a wife was marrying women whose husbands were killed during war. Once, right after being victorious in a war, he married one of the well-known women of his enemy, whose husband was killed. He did that to protect the enemy's civilians and war prisoners from possible mistreatment by his own army. He not only married Muslim widows, he did the same for his own enemy. Back to our talk. As smart idea was polygamy in the past, it is wrong in the current time. It was encouraged in the past, and it should be banned in the present. Polygamy is not for sexual desire of men. It is their social responsibility. It was recommended in the Quran of 1400 years ago for the circumstances of 1400 years ago.